Yes, here we are. What's up, Alonzo? How are you?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Oh, this is my name's Emerson. My host KP here. Brian is our producer in the back. I'm sure he'll chime in here and there.
I will pipe in now.
Oh, okay. Hey, what's up, Emerson?
How you doing?
You want to talk to your producer about actually giving me the number to call in?
Oh, no!
My Lord!
I think I spelled it with the UTS on the end. I didn't put the A.
Are you kidding me?
My
And he emails me back. He's like, I need the number. And I type back, Jesus. But it came across as, Jesus, man, sorry. But I meant to say, Jesus self-reflecting, like, oh, Jesus, I fucked up. And then I said the number. I looked at the message. I'm like, oh, my God, I sound like a dick.
It's just like every other time.
Man.
No big deal.
Don't plan on being here next week. Alonzo, what's up, brother?
Not much. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, man. You just did you have last night at the Comedy Club here in Webster?
Yeah.
How'd it go, man?
Last night the shows went great, and what a beautiful weekend to be here. It's just like summertime.
Oh my, yeah. Oh, Rochester weather is the worst.
You came here on the first sloppy weekend. And, this is everybody's impression of Rochester. They come through, they spend all summer gallivanting, spending all their money, and then the winter hits and they're back on the road. But I see from your website, Alonzo Bowden, is it Bowden or Baden?
Bowden, you got it.
That's what, all right. AlonzoBowden.com. The first thing I saw when I pulled it up was you and President Obama and the title, He Had Me at Black. And I think that is absolutely hilarious and honest. I would say that's pretty honest. A lot of people were trying to convince everybody, people that have never voted before were suddenly voting for Obama because of his policies. And I was just like, you're voting for him because he's black, which is fine with me. I don't care why you vote for a person. That's your personal preference, but I did love the title, and it really is putting it out there. It's a nice watercolor painting of you and President Obama. Did you actually ever meet the president ever?
No, I've never met him, and that's the cover of my latest CD. And the cool thing about that, actually, is a buddy of mine who I grew up with, he did the artwork on that, and he did it on his iPhone.
Wow.
Believe it or not,
that's impressive.
That's pretty good on an iPhone.
There's a whole thing of mobile artwork that guys do on their iPhones and iPads, and obviously he's a great artist. But the funny thing, what I love about what you just said, and I posted about it on my Facebook, it's really funny how people handle this race thing with Barack Obama, because now a bunch of white Republicans are saying, oh, yeah, we hated Obama because of his policies.
It does go both ways.
Yeah. So I figured it out. If you're a white Republican and you don't like Obama, it's because of his policies. But if you're a black liberal and you do like Obama, it's because of his race. That's just...
Well, I think everybody's got their own reasons for voting. I like that you don't sugarcoat it. You know what I mean? You're just like, whatever.
Right.
I heard enough. I guess white guys are so far responsible for the success and all the debacle failures of this nation. So I guess I don't know. I guess I don't know how I feel about Obama or Bush or any president. Everybody acts like they have a magic wand and they don't really control anything anyways. So vote for them for whatever reason you want.
There's a lot in it. But when you're the president, you're the symbol.
Sure.
It's just, that's what it is. You're the symbol. Just the funny thing with Obama is he's a symbol when it's bad, but they seem to forget him when he's good. So I joke about he must be the most powerful person who has ever lived.
Well,
he's just responsible for everything that ever happened.
It's got to be a rough job because no matter who gets elected, half the country hates you the next day.
Yep.
Publicly. on every forum, already hating you and everything you've ever done and picking your life apart. So I don't envy those guys in that respect. Plus, they're really not that well paid for half the world hating them immediately,
No, I think the payoff's on the back end.
And the speeches and all
that.
that.
As you leave, you get $10 million book deals and
forever.
Whatever else.
Yeah, every president that's still alive is just reaping the benefits of that, dude.
Sure. I would hope so, though. I would hope Buzz Aldrin's getting a blowjob right now. That guy walked on the moon. For the rest of your life, man. Do what you got to do.
I think that's what they tell you when you first learning to walk on the moon. I think they tell you that in astronaut schools. That, hey, if you do well, as my friend Matt says, blowjobs and chocolate for the rest of your life.
That's a great line. If I could get a side of mashed potatoes in there too, I'd be all right. That's if you do it once, unfortunately, I think the most recent astronauts blew up, didn't they? Or one of them survived or something like that? That Virgin rocket that exploded?
That was that Virgin rocket. There's another thing that's just kind of weird, these private rockets.
Yeah, Richard Branson, that guy's, he's a weird fella. That's what what that kind of money will do to you.
Yeah, but there's a reason NASA has like a, multi-billion-dollar budget. I mean, apparently if you want to fly into outer space, you have to know what the fuck you're doing.
You can't hook up an old Pinot.
Hey, you know what you need to build a rocket? Rocket scientists.
Yeah.
You actually need them.
He's got a bunch of guys that build apps for Virgin Mobile. So let's get these guys in a different room.
Oh my God. So Alonzo, you were runner-up season 2 last Comic Standing, and then you won season 3, right?
Yeah.
All right. How was that process, man? Is that just a drag, or I mean?
Oh no, man! It really wasn't. I actually enjoyed it. I mean, the stress and the way I tell everyone about it. If you imagine having a job where every Tuesday someone's getting fired, my whole thing was like, okay, don't get fired this week.
Sure.
Don't get fired, and then you look up and you're in the finals, and it's like, oh, I made it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a lot of ups and downs. I mean, obviously the great thing was being on TV every week, especially when we did it. It was a huge.
It was huge. It was huge.
We were getting 10 million people a week, and that's the other thing you can't get caught up in, because if you stand on stage and think, hey, 10 million people might laugh at this joke, it'll blow your mind. So my whole thing was just work for the room.
Sure.
Yeah, keep it in the walls
funny
there.
in the live room, and the TV voters will vote the way they want, and fortunately they liked it. So, and then having season 3, which was kind of the bastard season. I mean, it was the best of season 1 versus the best of season 2, but it wasn't really planned out. But winning that felt good. After being a runner-up, you want to come back and win. I'll tell you, the runner-up is like the worst person to be on a reality show.
Oh God, man!
You don't have to tell us.
Here's what they do: there's 3 guys on stage, right? It was me and Gary Gulman and John Heffron, and they're like, the third runner-up is Gary Gulman, and everybody cheers and yells, and Gary shakes hands and walks off, and the winner is
they skip
John
right
Heffron. Right? So then you're just standing there like,
The balloons drop, the music kicks in, and they just usher you off the stage.
yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I was second.
No
All right.
handshakes,
See you
no
later.
nothing.
Oh
No
my
applause for you.
God! Now, is there a check for the second, or
No check.
No check.
All the money went to first place, and Jay Mohr was one of the creators and producers of the show, besides being the host.
funny guy?
And we asked him about that. We said, Jay, how come there's no first, second, and third place money? And they said that the viewers, like people who are into watching reality shows, they like all or nothing.
Wow.
That's what they want to see. They feel there's more pressure, and the fans respond more to all or nothing versus first, second, and third.
Yes, I mean,
it kind of makes sense, from a ratings point of view. I mean, that's the thing. You got to remember it's a TV show, so ratings are involved, and you're dealing with, when you start dealing with network executives, they could give a shit about comedy.
oh, they're
all
about the
about
numbers and the money, man.
Yeah,
That's
but
If they were into the funny, tough crowd would still be on the air.
yeah, but it was a great run. I had a great time doing it. So,
And you won.
and I won.
That
adds to it being a great run.
We
Also, winning season 3 paid a lot more money than winning season 2,
oh wow, nice.
which ain't bad.
Yeah, that's all right. But, well, I mean, at least you know, hey, I'm glad you won. Runner-up twice probably sucks even worse.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And then they brought you back season 5 to judge?
Yeah, I was one of the judges, scout. That's when it was fun. That's when it was like, and the other thing was that's when I saw like how big it was, because you're literally going. We went around the world. We did across the U.S., Canada, and we also went to London and Sydney, Australia, and you see how many people are trying out for the show. That was the trippy part, seeing like, wow.
So
I beat a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. That even makes it better, sweeter, man. I mean, runner up. I beat out 1,000 or thousands and thousands of people for runner up. That doesn't feel good. Winner, that's feeling good.
yeah, especially when you're there to see all the people take place, almost like an American Idol style.
Yeah.
You know, that's got to be some pressure too. All right, you got. What did you give the guys to come in? Like 1 minute for everybody to do their thing?
You got 2 minutes. You know, your first audition is 2 minutes in an empty club in front of the three of us, and it's weird, but you know, this was the thing. We did it. You know, like I did 2 minutes in front of the two guys who, Bob and Ross, who at the time were the scouts for the Tonight Show. So
yeah, those guys really have their way of putting you under the bright lights with nothing and seeing like what you have when they strip you down. You know.
yeah, you got to just bring it. You got to act like it's a room full of people. That's the trick. You got to just you can't just stand there. We had some, and it was really funny. We had a couple of guys come in. I remember Chuck Nice, who's a great comic out of New York. He just walked in and started talking to us because we knew him, you know, because you know the veteran comics. And it was like, hey, Chuck, you realize this is an audition. You have to actually do comedy. And he was like, oh, shit, really? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just expected to get on by the past conversations you guys have had?
Yeah, he thought it was just an interview. And that was the weird thing. The weird thing was, and I even had situations where there were guys who I had opened for early in my career who were trying out who didn't make the cut. And the reason was you may have picked the wrong material. You know, like you're a great comic, but if you don't pick the right material to make the crowd laugh that night, you can't move them on just based on the fact that I know you're a good comic.
Sure.
You really can't go with the laugh every 30 or 45 second, kind of framework if you only have 2 minutes to make your impression. You got to be lightning speed.
Didn't something like that happen actually with Guy Torry? Is that his name? Wasn't he super pissed that he got let go?
I know Guy Torry. I can't say for sure because he wasn't on the seasons that I worked on.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what his experience was. You know, overall, there were a few people who were really mad, but most people got it. Most people understood that, you know, this is a process. It is an audition, and not everyone's going to make it.
And that's
there were a couple of people. It was funny, like there were managers and agents who were more angry than the comics, you know, and that was funny, and actually a few of them made themselves look really stupid.
Oh, I'm sure.
Comics are used to taking a beating, though. I mean, if you've been around the circuit and you've done your open mics and all that, you're not going to, you're going to have your bad sets. So you probably at least learn how to handle it a little better than the agent who really never has to deal with your failures. I mean, if you're up there for the time, you still get your money even if you're terrible.
And the other thing we know as comics is it's not always going to be the funniest guy. It's not always going to be the funniest woman. There's always other things involved. You know what I mean? Like, even if you talk to, and no disrespect to Jerry Seinfeld, but if you talk to the guys who were on stage with Seinfeld in the 80s, they'll tell you he wasn't necessarily the funniest guy in the room, you know. But then in the 90s, he had the biggest sitcom, I don't know if it's the biggest of all time, but
sure,
one of them for sure.
He's worth what, $800 million now? So he did something right.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just how it works. It's for whatever reason, and sometimes it's just comedy goes through different phases, different styles, and if you're what they're looking for, at that time, you got a better shot. If it's a couple of years ago, it was all about women in comedy. You know, they had all these different shows, right? Like Two Broke Girls and Whitney and the bitch in Apartment B, and apparently, right? I mean, according to those shows, like being a young white woman trying to make it in the city was the biggest thing in the world. So if you were a comic and fit that category, you know, or a comic actor or whatever, you had a better shot than, you know, a Puerto Rican guy. You know right. What I mean? Just that's what they're looking for. So it's a business. You gotta deal with all of that crap.
For sure. Speaking of like the failure with these guys that didn't make it, what's your worst joke that you told and just got beat?
Oh man, the worst. It was early in my career, and I went to there was a Black Business Expo in L.A. You know, just different. And one of the things they had a guy who made caskets, you know, and he was like, his thing was like, don't die with the white man, you know, buy a casket from Black. So I was working that night at Black Comedy Club, and I made fun of that. And they were like, apparently you shouldn't die with the white man, because they didn't find my shit funny at all. Oops. I didn't mean, hey, fuck the white man, you know. So, yeah, that was a memorably bad set.
And then you find out later it was a Masons convention or something. And you're like, oh, it makes sense now. Go ahead.
You know, that's part of learning the game. You know.
What was the first joke you ever told on stage?
I don't remember the first joke I ever did. It had something to do with my dad, but I don't remember what it was. But I remember the first huge laugh I got that surprised me. I said that, they invited me to a Beverly Hills neighborhood watch meeting to show the neighborhood what to watch out for.
All right.
Yeah, I remember that one. That one killed.
Yeah, it's always amazing. I don't know. I've only done stand-up twice. First time went great. Second time went not so great. So I've tasted both ends of the spectrum there in my short-lived stand-up career. But it was always amazing when you say something to yourself 50 times and you know it's funny, but you kind of lose why it's funny until you hear people laugh. I don't know. That it's just, you say it time and time again, and it's like saying any word 50 times, and you're like, that doesn't even make sense anymore, you know? Just kind of rolling on autopilot. I was tight with my first set, so it went according to plan.
Well, that's the trick to make it new every time you say it. You know, like I think Robin Williams was probably the best at that, because Robin would go on these rants and these things, you know, and get all manic, and people like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he thought of that just now. Well, he didn't. You know, he didn't. If you go see the show again next week, he'll think of the same thing. You know, no knock against him. I mean, he was a great comic, and he did do a lot of spontaneous stuff, but it wasn't like he didn't have an act, you know. But he was a master at making it look new, and that's what you got to do. You got to keep it new. You got to keep it new.
Absolutely. Were you a fan of Carlin?
The best.
Absolutely, man.
I love doing topical and political stuff. So Carlin, in my world, is the best there ever was, and the highest compliment I ever got was when Playboy magazine did an article, and they listed me as one of the spawn of Carlin. I'll always remember that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
we were listening to a couple of your stand-ups before we came on with you, actually, and you're just killing it, dude. You are a funny motherfucker, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
How long have you been doing stand-up?
21 years.
Go ahead. You said 21 years?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I said 21. January will be 22 years.
Yeah, I was watching, we watched a couple clips or whatever, and you're always changing. You're always coming up with new stuff. Like you said, you like to be topical. I just think back to some of the people that I watched, on like the Comedy Channel or whatever when I was younger. And then you see them like 15 years later, and it's the exact same act. Some guys seem like they just get their formula, just get their paycheck, and do the same thing almost every night.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, some guys do that, and the thing about that I always wonder is you have one of those acts, and guys will change, 2 jokes a year. I always wonder, like, how does a joke make the rotation?
What had to come out?
What came out? If you've been doing the same act for over 10 years, and sometimes you hear it. I think most recently when I heard it, and the giveaway was the guy made reference to a VHS tape, and I was like, okay, you need to stop and explain that to the kids in the crowd who've never actually seen a VHS tape.
Didn't even update it.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, being a comedian or one of the reasons I like doing this show is, you get sick of doing the same thing every day. So when you have the ability to write some new jokes or spin a new whole bit, I don't see why a lot of those guys don't take that opportunity. It's supposed to be fun and less monotonous, It's one of the reasons you get into it is because you don't want to go to the same job every day and do the same 9 to 5. But apparently,
the creativity is the fun part. But I don't know. I guess sometimes it is a job. To be honest, sometimes it is a job. But I don't know. I can't speak for them because I try to keep it fresh and keep changing it.
Sure. And you do, man. Absolutely. Quick question. We were going through your bio a little bit, and I saw you did a voiceover for Power Rangers.
Yeah. My first voiceover gig.
Really? What year was that?
That was 90, I want to say 95, maybe 95, 96.
So Power Rangers was probably huge then, right?
It was good. Yeah, I was a fan.
Crazy how big the show was. This is what happened with that show. I had just started doing comedy. I started doing comedy in 93. And, you're looking for the day job to pay the bills. And I had a buddy who worked for the show Power Rangers. He was in charge of picking locations and doing drivers. So he calls me up. He says, hey, you can drive a U-Haul truck, right? And I was like, yeah, I can drive a truck. He said, all right, well, we need a camera truck guy. So it's the same size as a U-Haul. Come down, you'll drive the camera truck. So I did that, and they did the pilot and a couple of episodes. It was like a month of work, and then it was like, okay, it's gone away. And I got along with everybody. And then 6 months later, I get a call, and they asked me if I want to be the transportation captain. So I said, well, let me think about it. And I call my buddy, and I say, hey, what the fuck's the transportation captain? He said, take the job. You'll figure it out as you go. So I take the job, and what it was is I was in charge of, helping to rent the trucks and get locations, get stuff here and there. So basically I'm a truck driver for the TV show. And a year later, I'm just talking, and one of the sound engineers is like, wow, you got a great voice. You want to be a monster? And I was like, sure. Yeah, that's just what happened. And I went in, and I fucking read and growled that I want to kill Power Rangers, and ended up being a voiceover guy for the next 2 years.
Wow, and so you stayed on for 2 years with that?
Yeah. And because you wouldn't be on every episode.
Okay.
They had like a group of guys, because they'd kill the monster every show, right?
Oh,
so they
yeah.
had a group of guys, and you would just rotate in and be this monster or that monster. But the funny thing about it was when we were shooting it, like, you're literally like, this is the cheesiest show ever. It's just,
oh my God.
It looks cheesy.
And it just looked like it was, 1965, and they turned around, and it was the #1 kids show in the world.
Forever.
That show was so huge. Like, I had a crew jacket. I still have it, as a matter of fact. But I would be in restaurants, and people would offer me money for the jacket. They would literally try to buy the jacket. we had a prop guy, and God bless him because he was smarter than anybody else until they stopped him. He would take the old script, like, you shoot, and he would just get one of the Power Rangers to sign it, and then he was selling them on eBay. He was making them, he's making, because they just throw it away, and he was making a bunch of money, and they were like, wait a minute, you can't do that.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure that's how a lot of that stuff ends up, too, on, you see on these, shows where the guys go into the storage units and all this and that. So, some of that stuff has got to be from them guys hustling shit and then just, a crew hand or somebody. Isn't that always who gets that stuff out and has somebody sign it and then it's on fucking eBay?
Right. That's how you do it. And, but the funny thing about the show was the actors didn't get paid anything, right? Because it's a non-union show. It was like a little cable kids show. Nobody knew how big it was.
Yep.
So for the first season, the highest paid guy was the guy who ran the generator because he was a Teamster.
Wow.
So, he got union pay. So he was literally getting paid more than the actors.
Wow.
And then the actors tried to, they tried to negotiate, and everybody warned them. Everybody was like, look, man, you work in a mask and a helmet. Don't get cocky, and sure as hell, they just started rotating Power Rangers. They were like, yeah, all right, we'll bring in another one. Yeah, we'll bring in another one.
Yeah, it's not like anybody showing their face on that show. If you could just slip somebody else in with a similar voice, then that's it.
Yeah, I think those kids made more money doing appearances. They would go to toy stores and malls and comic book shows. And I think they made more money doing that than they did being on the TV show.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, you make good money for your appearances, I would imagine, when you're coming through to help promote something.
I tell people it beats honest work.
Sure it does.
I mean, I'm not one of the multi-millionaire comics, but I do all right. I do better than I did. Certainly better than I did before any TV stuff.
Yeah, don't you have a bunch of Ducatis and motorcycles or whatever?
I got a couple of ducks and a couple other bikes. Those are my toys. But that's not so much being rich. That's being not married and not having any kids.
Hey, there you go. Oh, I love that answer. It's amazing what single and childless will get you.
Yeah.
As the producer of a multi-million-dollar web show.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I'd like to take a quick moment to promote some of the stuff you got going on. You have your podcast called Who's Paying Attention on the Sideshow Network.
Yep.
That's at sideshownetwork.tv. Fellow .tvers, I got to give them some respect. What's up with this smooth jazz cruise, Alonzo?
Oh, the cruises are great, man. I'm a big jazz fan. And, smooth jazz is such a shitty name for what they do. It's more like a contemporary jazz thing. It's just that in radio they categorize everything. So that's just the radio category. But it's guys like Marcus Miller and David Sanborn and Jonathan Butler, and it's a week-long charter cruise, and I love doing it. Great jazz artists, great music. And it's not like a regular cruise gig. Like, I just do a couple of my own shows. It's not like being on a Love Boat or anything. So,
Captain
that's
Scooby.
one of my favorite gigs.
Also, let me see here. You're at Alonzo Bowden on Twitter.
Yes, please. I need Twitter followers. I'm working on my latest big project is we're working on a book. And one of the things they look at, and it's really frustrating, they look at how many Twitter followers you have. So it's like, I've been doing comedy 20 years, but you just go ahead and judge it on how many Twitter followers I have.
Yeah,
they want to know what your reach is and the whole thing.
Yeah. So,
also,
anybody listening, please at Alonzo Bowden.
Oh, we will definitely promote it for you. Also, just as last night, tonight you will be performing. How many? Just one show or two shows at the Comedy Club tonight?
2 shows tonight at the Comedy Club in Webster at 7:30 and 10. And then Thanksgiving weekend, I will be down at the Arlington Draft House in Arlington, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. And I know it's a long drive, but smoking weed is legal in Washington, D.C. So.
It sure is.
Up to 2 ounces. You know what kind of made me laugh about that is they're voting, you know, all right, we're going to vote to see if weed's legal tomorrow. And then November 5th, they've got prepackaged, like, here's 200 milligrams of a stinky kush or whatever ready to go at the corner store. It's like somebody's got to be getting in trouble for that, you know? You got to burn those like Super Bowl shirts if it doesn't get passed.
Yeah, my theory on that is they have it set up, and they're just figuring out how to divide the money between, you know, the liquor companies, the tobacco companies, and the government taxes.
You ain't kidding.
Right? I mean,
Gotta get their foot in the
they're
door.
going to be the ones who run the weed business. So they're just in the back rooms figuring out how we're going to divide it up before we make it legal for everybody.
Colorado residents are getting a tax refund.
Yeah.
That's great. I think that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure it'll go away immediately in about a year once they figure out how to not give it back. But, you know, that's a pretty good push. I don't know. I don't mind legalization. I'm all for it. I don't really care what people do to themselves.
Well, all jokes aside, you know, the only problem they're having with it in Colorado is kids are getting it.
The candies there, yeah.
Yeah, because of the candy and the brownies. You know, so they got to do something about that.
Is there anything different though than
I know.
you find in your dad's joint and going out back and smoking it? Because that's what I did.
Yeah, no. You know what the difference is? Little kids. I think that's the problem. They have
yeah,
little, like
If
4 and 5 year olds.
anybody needs to be,
candy,
if anybody, go ahead. I was just going to say, if anybody needs to be doped up, it's these loud little kids. I'm okay with it. I don't know how sad I am about it. If they find a brownie and then they want to go take a nap, great.
Oh, my God.
Alonzo. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been great. We'll push for you this Saturday. Good luck with your future endeavors. And I'd certainly, I'm sure we all would like to talk to you again next time you're in town. All
right, guys.
How much are tickets tonight?
I have no idea.
All
Worth
right.
every penny.
There you go. Worth every penny.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Alonzo Bowden. He will be at the Comedy Club tonight in Webster, New York. Go and check him out. This is one funny motherfucker. Thanks, Alonzo.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good day.